I went ahead and just took the 4 questions from the quiz that you guys had done. And I'm just going to basically go over those because these are the ones that were the most missed from that quiz. So here we have the area is 153.86 feet squared. We want to know what is the circumference going to be. So remember the formula, if you've got area and you divide it by pi, and then take the square root, that's going to equal the radius. Radius is going to be equal to the square root of area divided by pi. So that means that we need to take 153.86 and divide it by pi, divide it by 3.14, and then take the square root of that. If we do 153.86 divided by 3.14, that's going to give us 49. And then when we take the square root of 49, we're going to get 7. So we get that the radius is equal to 7. Now the question is not asking for radius, it's asking for circumference. Now remember, in order to be able to solve for circumference, you need diameter times pi. You need to know what the diameter is times pi. So if the radius is 7, if I multiply that by 2, that's going to equal the diameter. So that means the diameter is going to be 14. So now all I have to do is take 14 and multiply it by 3.14, and then there's my circumference. My circumference is going to be equal to 43.96. And that's feet. So you had to work backward. You had to start with the area, work backward to get the radius, and then you could work forwards to get the circumference. Same thing here with the circumference formula. I know that if I want the diameter and I'm given circumference, all I have to do is take circumference and divide it by pi. So that means I need to take 28.26 and divide it by 3.14, and that's going to give me 9. So my diameter is equal to 9. If I divide that by 2, that's going to give me the radius, which will now equal 4.5. Then I just need to plug that into my area formula. My area formula is radius squared times pi. Radius squared, meaning 4.5 squared, times 3.14. And then when I do all of that, I'm going to get that my area is equal to 63.585, and that is inches squared. For problem number 3, number 4 were the most missed questions. For problem number 3, they want the area of just the shaded region. So that means I need to find the area of the entire thing, and then the area of just the small circle, and subtract the 2. So to find the area of the entire thing, I need to know what the whole measurement is. So if this is 20 and this little bit is 4, what does that make this area over here? 4 as well. So I need to go ahead and finish that part off and write 4, which means that this entire thing is 28. Because if you do 4 plus 20 plus 4, you get the entire thing to be 28. Okay, so we're going to break this down by circles. We're going to start with the big circle. With the big circle, the diameter is 28, which makes the radius 14, because the radius is half of the diameter. So then I'm going to find the area. Area can be found by taking the radius, 14, squaring it, and multiplying it by pi, 3.14. So the area of the big circle, is going to be 615.44. That's the area of the big circle. Now we're going to do the small circle. The small circle has a diameter of 20, which means that it's going to have a radius of 10. So for that area, we're going to do 10 to the second power, multiply it by 3.14, and then that will give us the small area, which is 314. That's the small. Now all I'm going to do is subtract. I'm just going to subtract the 2. Okay, so we are going to do 615.44 minus 314, and that's going to give us 301.44. Good Lord, animals in there. Okay, for problem number 4, it says, what is the circumference of the outer circle? The circumference of the outer circle. So the outer circle is this circle right here. So that means that I need to know the diameter of the entire shape. And what's the diameter of the entire shape? 28. Diameter is 28. So if I do 28 times 3.14, that's going to give me my circumference, which is 87.92. Okay, then my last piece. I've got 2 rectangles here. I have 2 rectangles. I'm going to go ahead and split them up. Oh, this is missing a measurement. This one was missing a measurement. I forgot to put that down. Let's go ahead and put down that this right here is 7 centimeters. Go ahead and write that in. This is 7 centimeters here. Alright, so if I split this up, I have a rectangle that is 10 by 4. And then I have another rectangle that I know that this is 3, but how do I figure out the rest of this measurement? What am I going to do, Eric? Yes, we're going to subtract the 10 and the 7. If I know this part is 7 and the whole thing is 10, then I can just do 10 minus 7, which is going to equal 3. So this is a 3 by 3, which would make it a square. Okay? We're going to then do 10 times 4, which is going to give us 40. We're going to do 3 times 3, which would give us 9. And then what do we do with those 2 areas? Add them. Add them together, and we're going to get 49, and this would be centimeters squared. That's our composite area. Okay? Any questions? All right, let's go on then to the next page in our notes. We're introducing a new concept. I want to get this concept introduced so that you guys can do an activity during Digital Day. Your Digital Day activity will again be loaded onto Google Classroom. So make sure tomorrow that you get onto Google Classroom. It won't load until 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is when it loads. Okay? So for here, I have a nice, lovely little scenario for you, and it's a true situation. This is true. The Atlanta metro area. So we are a part of the Atlanta metro area. Okay, the Duluth, Sewanee divisions are a part of Atlanta metro. Atlanta metro area has a population of a little over 6 million, and it's spread across an area of 8,376 square miles. Now, Shanghai, China currently has a population of a little over 20, or almost 26.5 million. So it's 26,320,000. But their square mileage is only 2,448 square miles. We want to figure out, okay, how is that mathematically possible? So taking a look again, Shanghai, China has almost 4 times, has about 4 times the amount of people in it for a little more than a third of the size. So it'd be like saying, okay, hey, I'm going to go ahead and instead of just having you guys in the classroom, I'm going to try to pile all of 7th grade into the classroom. And it's possible. How is that possible, though? So what do you think? What I want you to do right now is I want you to stop and think. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think on your own, and then you'll have a turn and talk time. All right, Jair, what did you guys say?
They simply put out many people as they possibly can.
They're, well, okay, but how? How do they do it? So let's say, again, like I said, in this classroom, right now we only have, there's 23 of us currently, or 22 of us, no, 23 of us currently in this classroom. Let's say that I wanted to put, 100 people in this classroom. How is that possible? Yeah, I can squeeze you all together, but eventually you're going to run out of inches to squeeze into. How else is that possible? Stephanie? Building on top of each other. Exactly. That concept is called volume. They utilize a concept of volume, whereas we typically only utilize the concept of area. So area is what we can cover. Volume is what you can build up on. So some interesting information here in the Atlanta metro area. So go ahead and write this down. So in Atlanta, we have 256 buildings that are considered to be what we call a skyscraper. Okay, that's about 11 stories or taller. Okay, 256 buildings that are considered to be skyscrapers. That's 11 stories or taller. And the thing is with those buildings in Atlanta, the majority of them are actually commercial use. Commercial use means that they are for businesses. So a majority of them have different companies that utilize those buildings for us to work in. Versus Shanghai, and I'll do a different color. In Shanghai, you've got 20 plus thousand, 20,000 or more buildings that are the skyscrapers. And a good amount of those are used for residential usage. In fact, in Shanghai, there is no such thing as a single family home. How many of you live in a single family home? Meaning you have a yard, you do not have anybody connected to you, okay? You've got space to roam. That is a good amount of people in the Atlanta metro area. Some of you may live in an apartment as well, but your apartment probably only goes up to about, 2, 3, maybe 4 stories, 4 floors. In the Atlanta area, and in general, most of our apartment buildings are not very tall, and they don't house a lot. So when you go to Shanghai, a small apartment building, so my husband and I, we have an apartment in Shanghai, in the heart of Shanghai. Our apartment, it used to be in the tallest building in Shanghai, in one of the tallest buildings. Our apartment is only on the 14th floor. It's a 15-story building. Now, most of the buildings are running about 20 or 30 stories tall. In fact, my husband's cousin, his family just bought an apartment, and it's on the 32nd floor. And I remember the first time that we went and visited it, I was terrified to let my kids get close to the windows because it's so high up, and I was like, don't go anywhere near there. But they build up. So it's not that they're cramming more people in an apartment. It's that they're utilizing the space that's around them, not just what spreads out, but what they can build upward as well. The same thing happens in New York City. So New York City has the same concept. A lot more people than we've got with a lot smaller space. But it's because in New York City, you don't have single-family homes. Everybody lives in an apartment or condo style. You build up on it. They own it or they rent it, but nobody has a single living space, not connected. Okay? So that concept again is just called volume. Volume is the idea of how much a three-dimensional figure can hold or fill up. Just like I said before, area is what you can cover. Volume is what you can hold or fill. So the traditional formula that we have for any kind of prism is big B times big H. And big B, I'm going to go ahead and put that in blue. Big B represents the area of the base shape. It's the area of the base shape. Devin, come on up and get your notes up here, okay? And then big H. Notice that this is a capital H, not a lowercase h. Capital H. That big H is going to represent the height of the prism. Okay, and more importantly, it connects the two bases. So it's the measurement that connects your two bases together. So big B is your area formula. Big H is the height or the value that connects the two bases together. This is important because when you're talking about using a reference sheet, this is what they're going to give you. Big B times H. That formula can be used no matter what type of prism you are dealing with. They will not break it down into individual type of formulas. You'll just have to know, okay, hey, it's a rectangular prism. The area of a rectangle is length times width. And then I'm going to multiply by the height of the prism. Oh, they're giving me a triangular prism. The area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Then I'm going to multiply by the height that connects the two triangles together. Oh, it's a cylinder. Okay, cylinder has two circles, so the area of a circle is pi r squared. Then I'm going to multiply by the height that connects the two circles together. You have to know that big B changes. So put that up at the top. This is going to change. This is going to change per prism. It changes per prism. Based off of what type of prism it is, will change what the formula is going to be. So again, this is the formula that will be given to you on your reference sheet. The other formulas that I'm going to go over will not be given to you, but you can memorize them. So when we're talking about a rectangular prism, with a rectangular prism, you can follow the formula length. Here's our length. Times width. Here's our width. Actually, I wanted to do that in blue. I'm so sorry. Change the green to blue. And then times height. Here's your height. Height in green. Okay, so we can do 12 times 5 times 3. And that's going to give us our volume. 12 times 5 times 3. That comes out to 180, and that's inches. And since it's volume, volume is always cubed. Think of it. Area is of two-dimensional figures, so it's squared. Volume is of three-dimensional figures. It is cubed. Go ahead and do this one on your own very quickly. Find the volume of the second box. Okay, let's go over it. Length is 10. Width is 3. Height is 4. So when we multiply 10 times 3 times 4, we're going to get 120, and that's inches cubed. 120 inches cubed. All right, go ahead and flip to the next page. Let's do that in blue. Okay. Triangular prisms. So again, the formula is area of the base shape times the height of the prism. So for the area of the base shape, we're going to actually do base times little height divided by 2. That's the area of our base shape. And then we're going to multiply it by the overall height of the prism. So here's my little base, and here's my little height for my triangle. Here is the height that connects the two triangles together. These 7s that you're seeing, those are additional information that is not necessary. So all I'm going to do here is multiply 4 times 6, divide that by 2. That's the area of my base. And then I'm going to multiply by the height of the prism. Multiply it by 12. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And then 12 times 12 is going to give me 144. So we get 144 centimeters cubed. Because we're running very close on time, we're just going to move on to the next one. Again, I need the area of the triangle, so I'm going to focus on the base of the triangle and the height of the triangle. And then the height that connects the two triangles together. So we're going to multiply 24 times 7 and then divide that value by 2. And then multiply that by 22. Okay, if I do 24 times 7 and divide that by 2, then I'm going to go ahead and get 84. And then when I multiply 84 times the 22, that's going to give me the 1,848 meters cubed. Okay, like I said, for a cylinder, with a cylinder, the area of the base, so the area of a circle, is radius to the second power times pi. So we're going to take radius to the second power, we're going to multiply it by pi, and then we're going to multiply that by the height of the cylinder. So here the radius is 4. The height is 6. So I'm going to do 4 squared times 3.14. And then I'm going to multiply that by 6. So 4 squared is 16. 16 times 3.14 is 50.24. And then when I multiply that by 6, I'm going to get a volume of 301.44. And that's centimeters squared, or sorry, cubed, centimeters cubed. All right, for the next one, it gives me a diameter. So what would that make the radius? 6. The radius would be 6. Okay, and then the height of the prism or the cylinder is going to be 4. So we're going to do 6 squared. 6 squared is going to be 36, and then 36 times 3.14 is going to give us 113.04. And then we're going to multiply that by 4, and we'll get 452.16, and that's inches cubed. Okay, so those are the measurements for all of our prisms that we have, all the different prisms that we have. On the next page, there are 2 additional volume formulas that I'm going to give to you, but they are not of prisms. One of them is of the cone, and one of them is going to be of a sphere. Now, the neat thing about cones, they're like pyramids, and as long as you know the volume of the cylinder, then you know the volume of the cone, because you just take the same formula and divide it by 3. That's because 3 cones will sit or fit inside of a cylinder of the same dimensions. So if I had a cylinder that had a radius of 5 and a height of 15, then 3 of these cones would fit inside of that cylinder. And in fact, on Thursday, when you guys come in, we'll do a nice, lovely little experiment, and I'll show you using water. Okay? All right, so as I said before, for a cone, you're going to follow the same formula, radius squared times pi, and then you're going to multiply that whole thing times the height, but then you've got to divide by 3 at the end. You have to divide it by 3 at the end. Okay, so my radius is 5, so I'm going to do 5 times 5 times 3.14. Then I'm going to multiply that by the height, which is 15, and divide my final answer by 3. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25, times 3.14 is 78.5, times 15 is going to give me 1,777, or 1,177.5. Then divide that by 3, we're going to get 392.5. And that's units cubed. Since I don't have a unit of measure, I just put units cubed. Okay, here they did not give me the radius, they gave me the diameter. The diameter is 9, so what will that make the radius? 4.5, 4.5. So we get 4.5 here. So we're going to do 4.5 squared times 3.14. Then we're going to multiply by the height, which is that 15. And then we're going to divide the whole entire thing by 3. So 4.5 times 4.5 times 3.14 times 15 divided by 3. And then we'll get the volume is 317.925. And that's centimeters cubed. Okay, and then the last formula, the sphere. The sphere is a very unique formula to it. Okay, so it is 4/3, the fraction 4/3, pi r cubed. 4/3 pi r cubed. So you just need to know the radius. If you know the radius, you plug it into that formula. So the radius here is 9. So we're literally going to type in our calculator 4/3 times 3.14 times 9 to the 3rd power. You have to do 9 to the 3rd power first. 9 to the 3rd power is going to give you 729. Then you can multiply it by the pi and then multiply by 4/3. Okay, again, that's just a formula that you have to know. 3,052.08 centimeters cubed. All these are a bunch of formulas that you're plugging information into. What's the radius for this one? 5, right? The radius here is going to be 5. Okay, so that means we're going to do 4/3 times 3.14 times 5 to the 3rd power. Okay, 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Then when I multiply it by pi and by 4/3, that's going to give me 523.3 repeated centimeters cubed. You do not have homework tonight. There is no homework tonight except for you to go over your notes. Tomorrow's Google Classroom assignment will be loaded by 8 a.m.